Yo, we're back. It's the Hatening It's Hoop. Hi. Hope everyone is doing okay today, as best as you can. Today I wanted to talk about like being outside, like playing outside and stuff. Specifically, like when you were a kid and shit, but also, like now, because the idea of like being outside and hanging out outside has kind of changed for me, at least, and like my friends that I've noticed. You know what I'm talking about? Like when I was a kid, when I was young, so like I'm talking like the mid 90s, like mid to late 90s, you know what I mean? Like I grew up in Hagerstown, and for people who aren't from around here, it was like kind of rural, kind of small town vibes, you know what I mean? Not that many people, every generation went to school with each other type of thing. So like for the most part, like we could still as kids like kind of just like roam around. You know what I mean? It wasn't like someone's parents had to be watching us at all times and that kind of shit. Like I spent a lot of my like childhood, like, you know, between like adolescence to like preteen, you know, before like I was kind of like able to do whatever, right? Like, because once I hit like high school, like I just kind of like did whatever in terms of like transporting myself to places and shit. But I'm talking about like when I was like, you know, like elementary school and middle school, like I was just like told to go outside and find something to do. You know what I mean? And like the neighborhood kids or like my friends who lived in the general area, like also were sort of like just told and expected to do the same thing, right? I was talking about this with a friend of mine the other day where it was like, yeah, like if it was like the summertime and shit, like I guess this was like during the era of like parents being really afraid that their kids were going to turn into like couch potatoes or something, you know what I'm talking about? And so because of that, like I was always like not even encouraged, but like forced, kind of like told to just like go outside and be outside. Like don't sit inside all day, like go outside and do stuff, right? Like I knew kids whose parents would like legit lock them out of the house, which was like kind of like a lot, but also like doesn't sound as like call CPS as it was. Like they could obviously like still come inside, use the bathroom and like eat and shit, but it was just like, no, it's a nice ass day. It's the summertime. Like your friends are out there. You're not sitting inside and watching TV. But like when I was a little kid, like I spent from basically like the time I woke up until like the streetlights came on just like outside, kind of whether I wanted to or not. Because even if I didn't want to like actively play or like do an activity, you know, like ride bike, skateboard, like do whatever, like I was still doing shit just like outside. That wasn't like with electronics, although like to be real, like I would still play like my Game Boy on the porch and stuff. But I just remember spending like so much time just like outside, like swimming and like we like riding bikes and scooters and just like playing games with all the neighborhood kids and like getting into trouble and shit. But like we would just go and do stuff. Like no one ever really knew where we were or what we were doing, you know? And I don't know if that was just like small town vibes or like the world was smaller back then or like parents weren't as paranoid. Like we can kind of talk about like the degradation of society and how like you can't really let your kids out of your sight like some other time, which I definitely think there is some truth to, but also that's a lot of like mass hysteria, like making people anxious. But like, you know, like we just like did shit. Like I would just kind of like be sent out of the house, you know, at like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning. And I would meet up with like the neighborhood kids and we would just like get on our bikes and like decide to do something. You know, we'd have like maybe $5 in our pocket. And, you know, then we would like just do stuff around town. Like we would just like, you know, go play in the woods. We would like just go, you know, like boys being boys type of like weird shit. Like we just would find shit to do until we got hungry. And then we would just kind of like mosey on back to someone's house or our own respective houses and eat. And then just kind of like mosey on back outside and just like be outside, like hooping and hollering and like doing whatever until like dinner time. And then you were kind of just like stuck inside the rest of the night for the most part. But like, I don't know. Like I don't really see a lot of kids doing that now. Like I live in the city, so like the dynamics are a little different. But even when I go home and it's nice out, like I don't see just like you know, roaming bands of kids just like hanging out and like doing stuff. Like I just don't see them. Like when, you know, like I just said, like when I was young Like, you couldn't turn a corner in Hagerstown without there just being a shit ton of kids doing something, you know? Every single block had like that house where the kids hung out. So there was always like bikes in the front yard and people like doing whatever in the backyard or the side yard or in the street, like playing ball, like all that shit, right? Like that was just what we did because we kind of like had to. I don't see kids doing that shit anymore, and it's kind of interesting because I don't think that there's like, you know, like a lack of like physical fitness within like kids these days. Like all the little kids I know seem to be as like, you know, fit and like physically able as like they were when we were young, right? You know, because that was like always like the fear was like, if you don't go outside and do activities for 8, 9, 10 hours a fucking day, you're going to get like unhealthy and obese or whatever the fuck. And it's like, I don't know, like I don't see kids like, you know, being forced to like run around at the playground for hours on end like we used to have to do. But I still like, I don't see like a visible uptick in just like fat kids, you know, not to be like fat phobic or whatever. I'm just saying like, like if the reason why I was like forced out of like an air like conditioned home in the summer for my entire childhood was like to prevent me from being unhealthy, like I don't think that that really worked, because it looks like there's kids who get to hang out in a temperature controlled environment and they're doing just fine, right? But now that we're adults, it's funny because like that dynamic has shifted like with outside time. You know what I mean? Like, because most of the time when I get propositioned to go out and do something that's like outside, it involves like drinking or like smoking weed, kind of, you know, it's like get baked and go for a walk, like get drunk at the river type of thing. And like that might be the company that I keep or just like whatever, but like, you know, it seems like most of the time people are using like outside as an excuse to like change their surroundings while they like party or whatever. You know, that being said, like I do have friends who are like into more fitness stuff, and I have been trying to be more, you know, in step with that lifestyle, not like a fitness lifestyle per se, but just like, you know, going on walks and playing ball and doing all kinds of shit, just like outside, just to be outside and do stuff. And it is cool to get back out and do shit. Like I recently have been like trying to get out, you know, and do more like outside activities when the weather is nice and when I'm like not too tired from work. And that's another thing too. Like it's kind of hard to like get motivated to like go out and play ball or like just ride the bike for fun or like go on a hike when you just worked like a full shift. You know what I mean? And you have to go like make dinner and like do your daily chores and shit. But aside from that, like it's been interesting trying to get back into the groove of like being outside and doing things that aren't just like sitting inside, right? Like I realize how much time I spend inside. I'm sure you do too, right? Like between like work and then just like needing to wind down from work. Like unless you're someone who can like motivate themselves to like exercise and stuff, like it's kind of hard to just like, hey, you want to go like kick the ball around? You know, I don't really know too many adults who are just like, that's one of their like go-to things when they're like bored on a Saturday, right? It's normally like getting intoxicated or like now like cooking is a thing because of the pandemic. Although I was recently talking to a homie about how like the pandemic has ruined the joy of cooking. You know, but it's like, I'd rather like get baked and watch TV or just like relax or do whatever or do some other type of self-care. But like, it's interesting to me seeing like the options available for like outside play and like kind of like figuring out how desirable they are, right? Like I remember being a kid, being like, you know, like a teenager and thinking like, oh, like when I get my shit together, it'd be so cool. I'm going to get like a cool mountain bike. I'm going to go on all these mountain biking trips. I'm going to like go hiking and get all this cool hiking gear and go camping all the time and just be outside all the time. It's going to be so much fun because I like to be outside like I do. But now that I'm in my fucking 30s, it's like I am tired and I'm on a budget. You know what I mean? I have homies who are very into the outside lifestyle and I applaud them. I don't know how much of that outside lifestyle shit is connected to like a personal and physical fitness, like desire and regimen, and not so much like the admiration for being outside. You know what I mean? That's also like a big thing too when you get to be our age, where it's like I don't really know what the divide is between people who are going outside and playing outside and doing sports and activities you know, like swimming and kayaking and jogging and stuff, like for fun, versus the people who are doing it because they want or need to get in shape or stay in shape, right? And then to me, that kind of becomes like, you know, I don't know how like motivated I am to like go out and play soccer because like I need to get my cardio in for the day, versus like, yeah, like it would be fun to kick the ball around for a little bit. Like going outside without like a goal has always been way more appealing to me than like I have to go out and jump rope for 30 minutes every day as part of like what my personal trainer tells me to do, you know? But that, I don't know. That's just something I've been thinking about. Thank you guys so much for listening to The Hatening. Andrew and I really appreciate it. If you like the show, please like and subscribe. Give us a 5-star review. You can find The Hatening on all social media platforms, and from there you can find the individual profiles for myself and Andrew. Tell your friends about the show if you can. That'd be great. But yeah, take care of yourself and the people around you, and don't forget to tell your friends you love them.